Isaac's the big one. It would be a club record fee, to get him in, having just broken it for Florian Wirtz. It could be, some outlay for Liverpool, but it looks like if they can make it happen, and if they're able to make it happen, they'll be happy to spend it.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Liverpool have not given up on Alexander Isak, as I reported last month. At the time, it was greeted with a lot of people saying he's untouchable. But the Isak situation has gone from being not for sale before the window opened, and the Newcastle chair, Yasser Al-Rumayyan, had basically intimated at that, after they won the League Cup as well, that all the top players have to stay. Then the outgoing CEO, Darren Eales, said on record that the club would basically be crazy to sell their biggest stars. And now it's going to be more about Isak, and is his head turned, and can Liverpool, or who knows, potentially if another club enters the race, another team, meet this British transfer record. And I think we're moving now from an Isak not for sale to, like with many footballers, an Isak potentially for sale at the right kind of package, whether that is just a British transfer record around the 120, 125 million mark, whether that's 130 or whether that's 150, as Newcastle sources had intimated before the window open. We'll have to wait and see. But the point here is Liverpool are trying, and they're not the kind of club generally to try on lost causes. They usually walk away pretty quickly when they don't think a player is possible. Now, at the same time, you've got the Hugo Ekitike saga, and this is quite interesting. And I think Liverpool probably feel now is the right time, because if they can clarify the Isak situation, they may be in a position where they think they can bid for him. If they genuinely believe after engagement that Newcastle will not do it for any number, then at that point they can turn their attention likely to Hugo Ekitike, and they need to move quite fast in that context, because if they don't, Newcastle might try and get the deal done. They'll learn whether it's possible in the next 24, 48 hours. There's not necessarily confidence on the Newcastle side, but they've been to Germany to try and advance that one. And then you've got Chelsea potentially, who will be looking for another attacker, especially if both Nicholas Jackson and also Christopher Nkunku go. So I think Liverpool realise that if they're going to try for Isak, it has to be now, into the new financial year, albeit Liverpool's financial year actually closed at the end of May, into the middle part of the window, into the bit where players want to be settled because pre-season tours are starting to get underway, into the bit where Ekitike will want a move. So they can't wait too much longer, and therefore we might find out Liverpool's direction of travel for Isak, for Ekitike, a possibility as well, before actually we know the next destination for Darwin Núñez. Whereas maybe in May, the feeling was that Núñez would go, they'd work out the funds that they brought in for that, then they would move in the market. Now I can see a scenario where Liverpool find a number 9, expecting Núñez to leave, but not necessarily waiting for him to do so.
It is funny, isn't it, how so many of these deals not quite rely on each other, but it feels like dominoes sometimes, doesn't it, in the transfer window, where people are waiting to see, well, what this first big move is, and is it going to be Isak, which will then give Newcastle a huge amount of money, whereas maybe they can spend a bit higher on Ekitike, or is that, will Liverpool decide that deal isn't possible, and then start moving other clubs around? And I think Liverpool will be pleased by the sounds of it to have got so much business done early, because not every sort of football club has. But this next big move, this next big forward move is going to be a really interesting one, isn't it? Because it's going to have so many knock-on effects in terms of other forwards moving on as well.
Yeah, I think Liverpool will be quite calm about the situation, because if they bid for Ekitike, it will be with confidence that he wants to join. There's an outside chance, say, Chelsea could enter that race. Like I said before, they'll be looking for a striker. Maybe it's Ekitike. Isak was certainly one of the dream names that Chelsea were looking at a year ago. I'm not putting them in the race at this point, but naturally, when top players become available, you can get a bit of a domino effect. Arsenal look like they're finalising the deal for Victor Gyökeres, as long as those add-ons get done smoothly. And again, he's been a dream target for them. But it's fascinating, because we're heading into a summer and a second half of the summer and a beginning of the financial year for Arsenal and Chelsea anyway, where they all actually have got big money to spend. When I reported in May and even March that Arsenal might go above 300 million in spend, it was largely dismissed, as we hear this every year. But they've already spent over 200 million, and there is more money to come. Naturally, they might need a big outgoing, but that's how they finance Gyökeres. Now, the assumption is if Gyökeres comes in, they wouldn't go for Isak as well. With Chelsea, they've got 90 odd million from winning the Club World Cup. They are PSR compliant because they've been able to sell their women's team to their parent company. They will expect some significant money from Christopher Nkunku and possibly Nicholas Jackson. All the other outgoings might bring them another 100 million or so because the fact there's so many of them, Joao Felix, Ben Chilwell, Axel Disasi. So this is why Chelsea might enter the race for a Hugo Ekitike. And you can never discount Isak and Chelsea simply because they like to go over the strategy of entering races quite bullishly when targets and players become available that are some of the best in England or in the world. And I think they showed that with João Pedro, where they sat back, they waited, and then they made a late move and they were able to get player buy-in. Like I say, that's just context because it's a fascinating window where Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea have all got money to spend, and they've all been looking to strengthen in these attacking areas. At this point, we only know of Liverpool, and I think Liverpool would have absolute confidence that if they agreed a fee with Newcastle, Alexander Isak would join. But the window does absolutely crazy things. It happened the other way around, where it was Chelsea, Caicedo, and then out of nowhere, Liverpool made a bid, but he still went to Chelsea. And I think Liverpool's perspective would be the inverse, that if it's Liverpool, and somehow, not that I'm linking them at this point, Chelsea did decide to enter the race, then still the player might have his heart set on Liverpool.
I hope you're enjoying this free show at the moment. Loads of excellent, exciting stuff on the Anfield app. If you want to be part of the whole thing, you can download the Anfield app and go from there. Or you can subscribe via the YouTube membership as well for video-only content and other bits and pieces. We love doing these shows. We love that you watch them. So come, be part of the journey with us.